Welcome back to the LPL. We are getting ready for Game 2 between LGD and OMG, where OMG took a pretty decently strong Game 1 win there, surprising me a lot because I wasn't expecting them to have such a dominating lead against LGD.
And the way they did it was actually throughout most of the mid-game, where traditionally OMG has been one of the weaker teams, you know? We talk about OMG and their legacy. You think about it, they actually had 2 consistent winning lanes in their solo lanes throughout the majority of 2018, but were still a bottom team. Now, that's almost impossible to think about. Like, League of Legends only has 3 lanes. If you win 2 of them most of the time, you're supposed to be at least middle of the pack. But that wasn't the case for OMG, and the main reason was because they never had a great jungler to link up those lanes and push the leads. I think Penguin might be the one that they're looking for.
Yeah, and that link up, the reason he was able to get all that done is how he got the MVP this game. You know, that Kindred was so incredibly strong, was able to get off a ton of ganks early. Look at that kill participation, 73%. He was there for his team the entire time.
Most important play for me was the early invade into the red side jungle. He already picked up 2 kills in the mid-game skirmish. He was not afraid to simply walk in onto Condi, knowing that the rest of the team would follow, and they successfully snowballed. This is something that we don't really see from OMG. They have great individuals, but team play has always been a lacking part. Now for Game 1, they've checked all my boxes. I want to see how they do in Game 2.
And on the side of LGD, I feel like their failure was in 3 parts. One of them was just pure positioning because Ian had gotten caught out a few times. Yep. I think the second one was in Condi's ganks towards the mid lane because none of them were successful. Part of that was due to the fact that Icon is just such an amazing player and was able to turn them. But some of that blame can lie on Condi, I feel like, because he did get out jungled by Penguin. And the third was the draft and in the top lane because Lies didn't really do a whole lot with that Kennen.
No, Lies barely did anything. I think that's fair to say that game. In the composition, I felt LGD was fine. They had a good crowd control front line, and Chelly, not Chelly, the Neeko, which is played by Kramer. I always sub in Chelly for Neeko just because he's the first one to play it. But Kramer actually had a very good position where he could deal out most of the damage, but that didn't happen that game. Most of the times his front line was already dead. You're talking about Ian, he got caught out twice without using his own Frozen Tomb or his flash and just dying on the spot, which is unacceptable. Like, that just gave OMG so much momentum across the map. So I really want to see if this time, this is the play that we were talking about, gets ran down, straight CC chain, no Frozen Tome, no flash, instantly dead. And they follow that play up with even PYL just getting caught out again. So we're seeing kind of the LGD trend where you just die randomly across the map and give away the game. I'm sorry that's a trend for you guys, but it's true. You have to admit it. And that's... I don't know what to say. I wanted to see more team fighting from Kramer. Just didn't get it.
And we made that criticism of them before. In one of their earlier series, they had been the #1 death leaders in the LPL, which is...
still are.
Yeah, it's not exactly something to be proud of, but it is a fact for them, you know, even though they've subbed out. You can sub out the mid laner, but the deaths still remain, as it turns out, for LGD. And it's a shame because you look at those team fights, and Kramer actually was doing pretty decently. Once he got to that second item, you look when he had to 1v1 Chelly in the side of the fight, he was able to take him down to half health with just 3 autos. So Kramer on the Neeko was able to get a lot of work done in the rare opportunities he was allowed a chance to even hit someone. But that just never materialized. Like you said, the solo laners had failings in the engages, they had failings in just playing their lanes, and they weren't able to get any sort of lead that made any amount of sense, because they got leads in the top lane, but nothing happened.
They took the Infernal Drake, they won the initial team fight, and they had that push down 2 mid towers in the mid game. They didn't follow it up with anything. Massive lead on Lies, almost 3k gold up, never transitioned into a successful team fight. And so many times in the LPL, it's not about the individuals. The players are very close in terms of the skill level, but it's about the communication. And LGD is just lacking those comms.
But OMG, on the other hand, are looking a lot more coordinated. They're looking a lot stronger in this series than we've seen them in a long while. You know, I think this... It's similar to their first series, but I honestly think they look better than their first few series in the split, because a lot of those plays were just through setting Ala ahead. They were getting him on the jacks, they were getting him incredibly fed, and then he was just kind of solo carrying fights with Icon being a strong carry player alongside him. But this game was not that. Yes, Icon was still popping off. Yes, he was still a major driving force for their team, but he wasn't the only force for their team, and it was more of a cogent unit, everyone working together to get the victory, and that's something I love to see out of OMG.
OMG is always one of those historic old teams, old franchises, the original bad boys of the LPL. You always want to see them do well, but they always seem to stumble at some point here and there. You know, it's probably too late for them to turn the ship around in spring, but this roster looks pretty decent for summer. I'm actually looking forward to it. Their win rate right now, still the bottom of the league. They're still behind LGD, but I see more future in the OMG squad than I do from LGD's side.
Well, they still have time to practice where they can conceivably get wins, because if this is how they're going to play in their next few series, you know, they're going to be going up against Rogue Warriors soon, who are also a team who are now looking on the up and up compared to their previous form. I think that's also going to be an interesting matchup, because if OMG keep this, it's going to be a battle of two teams that are just trying to develop for summer. Whereas here, playoff contention is still a factor for both of these teams. Once again, LGD, if they lose this series, they're gone. They're done.
Yep, very tight situation for LGD. They battled through a lot this split, losing two major pieces in Jinu and Y4 to V5, and then having to bench Yuki for some unknown reason and playing Ian instead. So I was talking about this LGD roster, and one of the criticisms I had for it is that across the board, this is a very, very old roster in terms of the number of years that they've played. If you add the number of playing time together, they're actually the oldest roster currently in the LPL. So if you ask yourself about the room for development on these players, it's actually quite limited. And that's why I actually favor OMG a little bit more. They have that veteran spice, and they have those newcomers in Xuan and Ale and Penguin to really have room for more growth.
Throughout every league, we've seen that's a trend for success. You have a few veterans, and you have some amateurs mixed in for them to train up, and you keep replacing like that, so on and so forth, and you develop as a team, you develop as an org. The LGD don't really have that, but they do have the experience. They have the potential to win in situations where OMG's relative lack of experience might not be able to tell them what to do. Kramer has been playing for a long while, and it shows in the way he plays. He's so successful. They're going to give him that Neeko once again. They have so much faith in their AD carry.
LGD saying, you know what, second time's the charm. The first time around, it wasn't because of Neeko. Neeko was not the problem. It was the front line that was absent. However, I have to say, I really like this draft from OMG. Once again, they're targeting away LGD's win condition. And to be frank, there's only one win condition, and that's Kramer, please carry us. So taking away two hyper carries in Vayne and Kaisa, they still have a lot of good laning options against the Neeko as well.
Yeah, Kramer going to be having a lot of pressure on his shoulders once again here, as is true in every LGD series, but now especially playoffs on the line. It's so much pressure psychologically. One would hope he doesn't fold, but last game I thought he played fairly well, and OMG once again are going to go for an aggressive bot lane here. The Lucian Alistar combo has been picked up by them and locked.
Yeah, Alistar is Xuan's best champion coming from the OPL. Actually an 80% win rate the last time he was on Regicide, so no surprise that he's locking that in, and still OMG are going for an incredibly strong bottom lane. That's pretty much the strongest bottom lane you can find in terms of the draft picks, and it's only left to the question about, can they have another strong jungle performance to really capitalize on that priority from the bot side?
We'll see if they think that that's important, or if they want to get a solo laner instead. Looks like they will prioritize the solo laner over it, giving Icon the Corki, which we have seen come up quite a bit recently. A lot of scaling, a lot of AD carry damage.
Scaling is the key word for me, because they recognize that both Kalista and Lucian do lack late game damages, so they are bringing in more insurance for the late game. They have Corki this time, they had Kindred the last time. It's a very well thought out composition. You get to punish the lane early, but you don't fall behind in the damage department late.
And OMG are unsurprisingly banning out the jungle position, but I'm interested to see what LGD prioritize, because they can either ban out the top lane or the jungle, and since the top lane seems to have been where a lot of their problems came from, at least in the laning phase, granted Penguin played amazingly as well, they've started off with a Scion ban.
The most played that we've seen from Lions has been the Yorick. It's what he's most comfortable on, and I think LGD might still be looking for something more akin to a frontline frontline tank that can create space for Kramer to dish out his damage. but they banned out the sign themselves, so realistically, I think it has to be between Yorick or Renekton. I don't really see them defaulting to Trust back onto the Kennen for Lies.
Well, now you're definitely not going to see that because OMG take it away. They're going to give that one to Ala and potentially the Vladmir lock in here for Lies. Not necessarily a beefy frontliner, but he can create pressure.
Vladmir's a very good pick in the meta, but my problem with this is that when he goes in, he's way too easy to focus. It's a very cut and dried situation where you let the Vladmir in and you just mouse from behind him. It's a good laning phase for the Vladmir, but in terms of what LGD are looking for in the team fights, I'm not exactly sure it's what they want. So even though OMG is not going to have that counter in the top side, I feel like they're actually quite happy with this situation.
There seems to be a tendency for LGD to pick a team composition that can kind of leave Kramer a little bit out to dry on the AD carry, and that's fine when he's on something like the Kai'Sa or the Ezreal, who have their forms of self-peel, have their forms of escape or movement in the fight, but Neeko has none of that. All she has is the Pop Blossom to try and keep herself safe, so I'm not sure how confident I am in LGD's ability to execute that composition right now.
Yeah, we do have to remember Neeko functions very much like a Kalista, just with more damage and towards the late game. Her shapeshifter is on a 16-second cooldown, so you don't really get that reposition that often. You do need a very strong front line to push ahead. And I think what OMG can't deny is that type of a front line, that protection for Kramer to deal damage. They have great ability to split the composition up. With the Crescent Guard coming in from Zhao, they also outrange LGD with Corki as well. So a lot of tools for OMG to play with. They can kite it back, they can wait until the Vladmir engages, and then try to cut off the rest of the initiation coming in from LGD. On LGD's hand, I feel like this is a lot more into their individuals this time around. Lee Sin plus Vladmir has been known as the most deadly solo lane combo. It does massive damage level 6, and if they can find their mark onto Kennen, onto Ala in terms of the top side, they could very well snowball that lane.
It's all in the execution for both of these teams in the team fights. One team is trying to split up the other, and that team just wants to stick together. They have a ton of AoE damage, and if they're able to put out the pressure in their AoE, create those zones of control, the Neeko for Kramer gets to be so safe, gets to pump out the damage that we saw him attempt to do last game. Maybe even throw in some stuns, because they have a ton of CC as well.
Definitely is the case. I think Zhonya's this time around is definitely a very early pickup for Kennen. A lot of times you see the Kennen top laners actually like to go for Morellonomicon second. It's stronger lane. If you get to the back line, it deals a lot more damage. But this time around, it should be all about letting Kramer do the heavy lifting. So I want to see an early Zhonya's coming in from the Kennen. I want to see LGD's front line this time play a proper zone control, get Neeko to deal most of the damage.
LGD, they just need to take this one nice and slow. This is our criticism of them in previous series, and we need to see that they have learned their lesson here in Game 2 of OMG versus LGD. OMG fans out in force today. They are so hyped after seeing that Game 1 victory because they know this is not the OMG they have been watching for the entire split. This is a new beast, and it looks so much more coordinated off the back of Penguin. Now, we've seen him on this Xin before as well, but I think that the Kindred performance was better than what we have seen from him previously in the split.
Yeah, this time around, I want to see how he plays around his mid lane. Icon doesn't have the best matchup this time. Lissandra should be able to have lane priority.
They're looking maybe to aggress early. Is the W start from Kramer. That's going to be choreographed, or telegraphed rather. They're not dancing, as it turns out in the bot lane, which is a shame. They have the time for it. No one's going to be scrapping it out. And both junglers starting on the bottom side of the map this game.
Taking a look at the selection of keystones here. Worthy to note that Condi is taking up his Conquerors. Can proc it relatively fast. Of course, you get 2 procs just on the Resonating Strike and the Sonic Wave. So it makes a lot of sense. We do see Conquerors being selected more frequently than the Electrocute on Lee Sin's these days.
Just basically every jungler that autos at all in their combo seems to be taking Conquerors these days, with the exception of things like the Xin, who are still taking the Hail of Blades thanks to the buff in an earlier patch, which allows it to not consume a stack when you have an auto reset. So you can get those 4 autos out real quick for Xin. And Penguin looks like he might be trying to make use of that here. He's level 2, could be going for the scuttle, could also be going for the gank, but he will be spotted out by this ward, which was earlier pinged out by Allah.
Just checking the routes from both sides. OMG actually going for buff to buff on Scuttle, and Condi, I would say, has the better route at this point. He's going to control his bot lane. Neeko should be able to push up with jungle presence, and he should be able to defend his top side as well.
Well, he's going to need to. He needs to pick between a mid lane gank or defense towards the top lane, because that's going to be Penguin trying to steal away the blue buff. There's going to be a fight. The question is, how many versus how many? Condi, level 3. Blue buff has been pulled away at this point. 800 health still. Allah trying to help him out. Oh. Smite it away. Looks like Allah was the one to secure it, actually.
Yeah, that's... I'm not sure that's good for Penguin. You can see he's still level 2 at this point. His route was pretty inefficient compared to Condi. If you take Krugs, honestly, you are in a massive advantage just in terms of the jungle pathing. So... You know, Kennen should have a slight lead anyway in the early game. I'm not sure that's really the best news for Penguin, but it's what he has to live with.
And it's interesting thinking about who the blue buff did and didn't go on to, and that's the most basic way to phrase that. But you look at Condi without a blue buff, okay, whatever. He's a Lucian, he's an energy champion. He doesn't really need the regen as much because it's built into his kit with his passive. Whereas denying it from Penguin, yes, he already has a blue buff, but he could have used that mana regen. He could have used the extra experience, as you stated, and Allah doesn't really get much use out of the blue buff either, especially in the early phases of the game. So LGD in the jungle matchup early, coming away pretty happy. And we're going to see a little bit of aggression coming out here from LGD's bottom lane this time. I like this change because last time there was no aggression coming out from them and they just got bullied in the early phases.
Yeah, the important thing to note is that this is a semi-vertical jungle, so OMG does not want to trade back. Even though they could get a WQ combo onto the Neeko, they're saying Lucian could be next to this. We just have to take the punishment coming in from Kramer.
Oh, there's the flash in from Xuan, and he's not going to be able to get the headbutt into an advantageous position. But the 4-man dive coming in. Chelly flashes away. They're going to go for Shen first. They will get the first blood onto Ian. Condi barely surviving. PYL diving to the... Oh my god! LGD! What are you doing?
You know what? Maybe they did know it was a vertical jungle. Maybe they just didn't think about it. Still goes in. I understand what Xuan was trying to do. He's trying to get the knockback onto Neeko, onto Kramer, back into the tower. But that was completely over-ambitious, and they trade at a point in time where LGD was already on their route and looking for a 4v2.
Yeah, OMG now, they're going to try and capitalize on the fact that they know that Condi was low health by trying to solo out this dragon here. Penguin should be able to do it. He's got the regen, he's got the Skirmisher Saber, he's got Smite on top of it, and Xuan just going to help him out. Has not been spotted out by LGD, so this should just be a free first straight going over to OMG.
Still not worth it for the trade. This is the first time in the series that we see Kramer actually get a CS lead in lane, and we all know what that Neeko looks like once she hits those 2 items. Really questionable decision from Xuan. I have to say that it was a pretty poor map read. They didn't understand where the Lucian was. They didn't notice that Lissandra was already missing from the mid lane, and those are some pretty big signals. 1 person missing on the map, I can understand that. 2 people missing, probably not the best time to trade.
Granted, it was a beautiful engage from Xuan. I was really happy with it. It was really cool. But it didn't work out. Like you said, they didn't have the vision. But you said that Kramer has a CS lead, which, yes, he doesn't normally get. But you look at the rest of the lanes. Oh, Ian, you got to be careful, buddy. Aftershock no longer on him. Has to pop the Frozen Tomb. He's level 6. Flashes out. And Icon is so low. If Condi can get in here, get the Q.
Find it.
There's the ward hop. The Valkyrie going to keep Icon safe. But now they can chase down onto Penguin with a fair amount of ease. Dead. Yeah, this is going to be a 4 versus 1, and Penguin just wants to try and get the kill on Ian, but Ian jumps in to kill him first. But no assist going over to the bot lane of LGD.
That's the question I was asking. How does Penguin play around this mid lane now that he doesn't really have priority here? Lissandra is expected to be pushing this lane out and to be winning most of the trades. This time around, he comes in, he does get in early, but follows up a little bit too much. I feel like OMG were pushing their luck in that trade.
Well, speaking of pushing their luck, There's going to be a little bit of a trade in the top lane that both top laners just kind of opt out of at the end of it. And the blue buff will be taken away by Condi before Penguin gets there. So really good movements and pathing still here from Condi.
I just want to know that it's a super interesting build coming in from the Kennen. We haven't actually seen a AD Kennen for a very long time. Usually the AP Kennen loses to the Vladmir in this matchup because he cannot match the sustain. But with the Blade of the Ruined King build, it might be a very good idea. You know, Vladmir stacks health but doesn't have much resistances. So we could be seeing the return of an on-hit Kennen.
But the question is what you lose from that itemization, because you don't have as much AoE burst, you don't have as much sustained AoE damage. It's more about the single target, it's more about the on-hits. And with the teamfight style that OMG are looking for, splitting up the team, is that better or worse?
The AD build is a lot weaker compared to what it used to be, but I want to check out if Icon actually falls for this gank. He does have the cleanse, so shouldn't amount to much.
Oh, they will get the root with the Ring of Frost. Frozen Tomb forces out the cleanse, and Icon flashes away as well. Condi not going to land the Resonating Strike or the first half of the Q, and Ian really low, has to get the slowdown onto Penguin. If he were able to get his E, that would have surely been a death for the LGD mid laner, but they'll just be happy and get away with 75 gold in the control ward.
Yep, good response from Zhao does come in on time, and even though LGD doesn't find the kill, they do find both summoners from Icon's side, so ripe for a repeat gank. And just talking about the Kennen builds a little bit more, the reason that Kennen, AD Kennen is so rarely seen these days is mainly the changes to the W. AD scaling is much weaker on that ability, and also your resistances end after your E. Resistances, yeah, end after your E. So you can't do the trade where you just E up to someone's face and start auto-attacking them and expect to win the trade. That was the reason that Kennen was so broken as an AD champion back in the days. But now it's no longer really the case. You rarely see AD Kennens, and in fact, this is the first one that we'll be seeing this split.
Yeah, I'm fairly sure that this has not been picked in any of the other regions, but speaking of picks, Lai's having to flash away from one towards him. Hemoplague will give him a little bit of sustain, but now Penguin, Penguin and Ala are going to be coming up here with Icon going in for the special delivery. He finds Condi, a 1v2, like you said. He wants to go for the Resonating Strike. Not going to be able to get the Crimson Rush off in time, and now Condi so low under the tower. Ian's here to try and add a little bit of support, but the 2 versus 3 with Condi so low, I would not take that one, Ian.
Yep, Ian doesn't have the flash, cannot snipe out Icon and then run away. Decides to just admit his losses there. Really good play from the package on Icon. Hope we're going to watch that again. Pretty ballsy play as well. Going in 1v2, Lai's hiding in the brush. Comes out of it and still falls down. That's a bit of an interesting path to take. I felt like the Vladmir could have stayed in the brush a bit longer.
He was a half second away from getting that 3rd transfusion, though. So, like, I sort of get it. I've been there. I'm a terrible Vladmir player, though, so maybe my experience isn't the most relevant. But he's not going to be able to get the trade there. They will stop the push, however, and now they engage in the bot lane. PYL tries to get the Glacial Fissure. It will land the Pop Blossom as well. They're keeping the CC down onto Xuan, but he's popped the Unbreakable Will. He is a beefy little, well, piece of beef. And Xuan will die here. Frozen Tomb lands. Kramer picks up his first kill of the game. They're still going on to Chelly. He cleanses before the CC lands, but they will not get the last hit. PYL goes golden after Kramer blows the heal. Maybe a little bit of miscommunication coming out from LGD there.
Yeah, PYL actually does this quite often, to be honest. In his previous series, we've also seen him blow unnecessary perfect timings. But overall, still a great play from LGD, and this is what we were talking about, that once the mid lane does get priority, I want to see how Penguin plays this. His main role should actually just be tracking Ian. And we can see some of that communication issues coming out from OMG's side as well. Not having the best coordination between the rest of the team in their mid lane, in their bot side, sorry.
And LGD, none the wiser, are going to lose out the Rift Herald take in favor of OMG. Penguin been doing a good job of taking care of the macro for this game. He's been able to pick up the Dragon, been able to pick up the Rift Herald as well. So he's done a little bit. But Condi still holding his own, able to get off a few successful ganks.
This is just so smart from Ala. Like, I actually think it's incredibly genius to go back to Blade of the Ruin King. It's a perfect item against someone like Vladmir, and it completely flips the matchup. It's so rare to see like a top lane matchup change because of the itemization choices. Typically, the Vladmir is considered as a counter to the Kennen. We actually saw LGD counter pick. They had the later selection on the Vladmir. They wanted to take the Vladmir into the Kennen matchup, but Ala is changing the dynamics completely. He's not willing to settle for the meta build. Instead, he's saying, you know what? I'll take a suboptimal build on this path, but it counters you.
Does potentially set up a unique interaction, though, for OMG, because they have 3 people playing 80 carry on this team, essentially, at this point. So it's a matter of, do you get enough resources to fund them all? Do you get enough time in the team fights to not have them all die? How do you handle this new dynamic where you have 3 squishy damage dealers?
That's a great question to ask, and I think Penguin needs to do a lot of work to keep all 3 of them alive. Crescent Guard's going to be very important to keep the Vladmir out of position. And also this time around, Neeko is having a much better game.
Yeah, 1-0-1 up in CS this time, an important distinction. And in the other lanes, LGD are not losing. They're not ahead by significant amounts, but they're also not falling behind, which is significant enough because Kramer is trying to scale. And if the rest of the map isn't losing, he gets to do that. But Ian getting engaged on here by Penguin will pop the aftershock. Penguin trying to go for the chase. Maybe a re-engage comes in from Ian. Not going to happen, though, and a good thing, too, because Xuan was there immediately to defend.
Even though this time it didn't work out for Penguin, this is exactly the play I want to see it make. Because their bot lane has been caught out by Lissandra roam so many times this game already. Trying to limit the options for Lissandra is the way you keep your bot lane ahead.
And with this Rift Herald, they'll be able to do that a lot further. If you lock her down, get rid of her tower, get rid of that safety, she doesn't get to roam as easily. So it depends. Looks like Ian actually going to be able to defend this one all by himself, though.
Just getting that 320 gold for Icon, speeding his build up a little. Just a check on his build. He is going to go for the Triforce. Not going to be copying Toynbee and going for the Iceborne Gauntlet.
I don't think anyone else is brave enough to try that one, Clement.
The damage is much better, trust me.
But it's not as cool. Iceborne Gauntlet is objectively a cool pickup on Corki. It makes you go, huh. Triforce is obvious. Sort of like this trade we've seen 3 times so far, and it looks like Lies once again going to sustain his way through it. Penguin is here for the counter gank. Crimson Rush falls down, but Penguin does not want to chase onto it.
I love this. This is just so genius from a top laner. When have you ever seen this? Like, baiting out a counter pick with just the builds.
Oh, the flash away from Lies might not be enough to save him.
He still has that W.
Oh, he lands the stun. Ala might still die. Oh, Condi. Good pickoff from him. And now Icon loses most of his health just to the Frozen Tomb plus Q from Ian there. So he's going to be looking a little bit worse for wear. Still has the package available for the special delivery. And there, Xuan goes in. They pick up the return. The shutdown onto Ian, going down in favor of Xuan.
That's when you know, Regicide, they all spoke Mandarin. There was no communication problems, no hesitation on that play right there. Good play from the new guy on the team.
That said, LGD getting a lot of freedom here in the bottom lane. Yes, you stopped Ian from roaming. Yes, you shut him down and killed him, but Kramer is still pushing relentlessly forward, has the Blade of the Ruin King. But let's see this top lane gank one more time.
Yeah, so we know Lies still has flash at this point. Look at Ale. He gets his empowered auto attack, flashes in, follows up with the W just to get that kill, but does walk a little too far forward, and great find on Condi to equalize it.
Part of me wants to wonder if Lies were going to get that kill anyways, because I think he might have, but I don't want to say that, because I don't want to think that Condi just tried stealing it.
Look, even if he was about to die to the tower, it's always worth it to get the extra assist gold. That's 50% extra gold you get on the kill if you throw that Q out. Definitely worth it.
Well, now Condi's got to make use of that extra gold.
If someone accuses you of kill stealing, this is what you tell them. 50% extra gold, I'm doing it for the team.
Refer them to Clement Chu's argument. It's for the team, it's for the team. Yeah, I know I'm the support, and I flashed in, used every single ability and ignite. But it was for the team.
Are you taking it a little bit too far? I just said the Q.
But maybe a different argument at that point. But now OMG setting up around this dragon. Mountain Drake has spawned. It would be the 3rd dragon of the game, and OMG's 2nd. LGD, of course, having picked up the Ocean Drake, and now PYL playing a little bit of defensive, and Kramer has a lot of damage at this point, so they can contest this. They're up in items, in fact, over both Chelly and Ala.
Just taking stock at the situation. Everyone is basically 1.5 items, but OMG should have a slight advantage here. They do ensure the scuttle for this Mountain Drake. And the top laners both have teleports to come into this fight. Very tense situation. There are no flanking wards from either side. It looks like they're going to run into each other just full front, just front to back.
It's all going to be on Xuan's engage and the counter engage coming in from LGD. Whose is going to be better? Ian's here on the side waiting for the flank. No teleports coming in just yet, but there are wards in the pit. Now the engage comes in, but this time it looks like LGD on the better end of the fight. Kramer still so healthy, putting out the damage with the AoE on hit, and they are able to take down 2 members in the fight. Mountain Drake should be going over to LGD.
Oh, great find by Ian. Look at how much terrain he actually traversed, going through the thickest part of the wall and then flashing into multiple OMG members. Penguin didn't survive at all. He was instantly blown up in the fight, and you see those frozen thralls walking at you. You know you're beat. Everyone just backs out. But that was a fight that was won solely off the back of Ian's Lissandra.
It gave OMG time to take down the top tower, but LGD trade with the mid outer, which means the last outer tower remaining for them to take will be in the top lane. 2-2 in towers, and OMG is starting to crumble a little bit because Chelly's not going to scale as well as Kramer. I don't think on-hit Kennen scales as well as the on-hit Neeko does. Icon still has that scaling, but as it gets to the later phases of the game, the Vladmir comes online. The Lissandra stays that constant threat, and Kramer just does more and more damage.
We can just say this easily, but OMG is not going to have the teamfight edge later on in the game. What they will have, however, is the 1-3-1 potential. They have 2 side lanes that I don't think LGD can do much about, and they're all very high mobility side lanes. Kennen, almost impossible to really pin down. Same thing with the Corki as well. So they can shift gears and move toward a different win condition.
And it looks like Ala is itemizing towards that, going for the Wits End second. It's going to give him a lot of 1v1 potential, specifically against the AP side laners for LGD. Both Ian and Lies going to do mostly magic damage, so the Wits End going to help him out. It looks like he's just going for the engage, but the Glacial Path will save Ian's life quite easily.
Yeah, good use by Ian right there, using the Ring of Frost to slow the Kennen down. And get the Aftershock proc to avoid damage as well. So like we were talking about, OMG do move into a 1-3-1 lane allocation, and Kramer really doesn't want to find himself facing up against Icon.
He's pretty confident in this one, bizarrely enough, but he does have Condi there. Good stun coming down. He might just be able to solo out Icon. The last auto is going to do it now. The double buff coming in for Kramer on the Neeko 80 carry.
All right, I was completely wrong. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I don't blame you on that one, bud, because I don't think anyone expected that solo kill to come out, but now Kramer, double buff 203, has the 2 items he needs for the power spike, but Ala is just constantly pushing here in the bottom lane, and it doesn't look like Ian can stop him.
Can I just say in my defense, I don't think Icon was expecting that either. He held on to the cleanse. He was like, yeah, I think I'll be fine. Wait a minute.
wait, those are minions that I just tanked through.
It's like, oh, it's 9.4. Oh, it's not 9.5 Neeko. Should have cleansed.
LGD going for this Baron. I'm not sure about this one.
Pretty risky. The Kennen can have a very good engage if he actually makes it here.
He still has teleport, but it looks like they're just going to go for the teleport of their own. LGD trying to pick off Xuan at this point. He will pop the Unbreakable Will, but they'll finally take him down off the back of Condi's Q. And Kramer picking up yet another kill. Baron Bait just turns into a kill for them. Oh, that was real close to a continuation of the fight in favor of LGD.
Good find by LGD. They pick up an extra kill, but OMG should have an acceptable result as well. Sacrifice the cow just to make sure the enemy doesn't take the Baron.
Oh, Ala slicing Maelstrom. Good kick away there from Condi. Will be ultimate for ultimate in the end. Nothing else burned. So it's not too terrible, but both teams are now down in an engaged duel.
Just want to watch that again. It's red buff 11 versus 12. Look at the amount of damage he's dealing. That was 6 auto attacks. I think so he got the proc twice with Winsu's Rage Blade, and that was enough to finish off Icon. Icon still holding on to his cleanse there. Didn't think it would be much of a problem, but wasn't the case. The damage is just That was disgusting from Neeko.
Yeah, well, even blowing the special delivery to try and survive, and the last auto was already on its way. Just such unfortunate timing there for Icon. So he's going to start losing this 1v1. And as Kramer picks up looking for either the Phantom Dancer or the Runan's Hurricane, he's going to have even more power in his pocket. And Lies is still scaling. He hasn't finished his second item yet, just sitting on the Seeker's Arm Guard and picking up a needlessly large rod. But he is scaling. He is working towards the later stages of the game.
You don't really expect that from a bot laner. That was very eye-opening, the amount of damage that the Neeko was able to dish out. Of course, he did a couple of kills. That's why she was nerfed so heavily on 9.5. I still will say that in terms of just being an AD carry, she does limit your team composition, so her win rate across the board in 9.4 actually isn't that high for an AD position. But you can see that her damage is definitely nuts. Her damage is way overboard.
Yeah, if she gets going. And that's the key. If she's able to get going, she can do so much. But like last game we saw, LGD just weren't able to get that win condition on the board for them and couldn't really do a whole lot with it as a result. This time, it's a different story. All of their lanes are doing fairly well. They are even in gold roughly with OMG, and with a better late game scaling composition, it's a pretty good spot to be in.
They do need to wait for, I think Corki items is the main one here. You can see that Icon has been stuck on 1.5 items for quite a long time. I wonder what his next item is going to be. Also packing him some magic resist, going for the pickaxe as well. Usually most of the time we see the Infinity Edge just being the straight next item, but Icon definitely feeling the pressure from the on-hit builds from Neeko.
Maybe considering, could be going for the Hex Drinker, I suppose, but would be an odd itemization choice when...
Yeah, I think he's just trying to get an early QSS. Well, he does have Cleanse already. So maybe just thinking about the magic damage that he's been facing, Lissandra, Vladmir, and also just Kramer as well. So I don't think it's a bad defensive buy by any means, but it does slow down his power spike going towards that Infinity Edge.
He's definitely spooked there in the mid lane. And potentially Lies might get picked off here by Allah. He's still looking for it. Goes in for the engage. Has the Slicing Maelstrom available. Has used the Blade of the Ruin King active. And so much damage from the AoE.
Only one last tick. Nope. Can't get it.
Hemoplague will save Lies' health bar. But he is forced to back. And Icon looking for the special delivery to pick up on the side. But will not be able to find it. The pings go down onto Baron from LGD.
Yeah, so they have a package in the bot side and a teleport as well. That's why they're comfortable sending 2-man into the bot, just looking to get that one kill. And these guys actually do a lot of damage to the towers. Very fast attack speed coming in from the Kennen Triforce on the Corki. So we could be seeing that 1-2 punch combo being thrown by OMG in the future as well.
TP, however, back up on Lies, so he will be able to enter the fight if it comes to that. And Allah has the TP as well, of course. So this will be a 5v5 if they decide to break out into fight. Kramer has picked up his third item. Surprisingly, the rapid fire cannon coming through in favor instead of something like the Phantom Dancer or the Runan's Hurricane.
Yeah, I actually like this buy. He has a very good front line. If Lissandra and Vladmir can do their jobs, he doesn't really need to go into a defensive item. There are no divers on OMG's side. That's the key thing you have to note here. So no Phantom Dancer. That is the typical build for short-range AD carries like Vayne, like Neeko, who do have to rely on a bit more defenses in their itemization. And here comes the Baron.
The rhythmic whack of the sound effects over the wall with no vision, and OMG going to try and put down a ward and spot this one out. They see that a ward's been placed down by LGD, but 4,000 left on the Baron. The teleport's coming in on the top side from Lies. They just need to stall out this Baron. 3,500 health still remaining.
Vlad.
Condi goes in over the wall and dies for it, but they want Penguin. They take him down. Hemoplague on the side from Lies. It's going to keep the pressure onto Chelly for the remainder of this fight, and LGD are able to pick up 2 after the distraction comes in from Lies. So now maybe they can push down for more objectives.
And OMG pushing hard onto the bot side. You could see Allah actually try to use his Slicing Maelstrom to get Vladmir to stay in the lane. Unable to do so. And it's a 1-tower trade for a 2-kill trade on the top side. Each team should be able to walk away relatively safely. But can LGD actually just start the Baron up again? They do have a lot of damage here.
Well, they've definitely been spotted out. So
Don't
maybe
see the ward.
Yeah, this is not going to go well for LGD. Yep. You hate to see it, Clement. And now that Ian's been stunned out, forced to flash, will get the Ring of Frost, but the auto comes from Ala. This is a really scary Kennen, and the Q going to go wide from Condi. So now it's just 3 members on the top side. Condi fruitlessly trying to defend the push from Ala.
Yep, so OMG actually have a much better reset on the backside of that, and Condi shows himself on the bottom. Also teleport for Ala as well. This is going to be a 5v4 situation. In comes the teleport. Can LGD save this?
Baron's at half health, 5,000 starting to tick down. Kramer will be able to get some damage onto Xuan, but he has the unbreakable will. The Baron goes down in favor of Penguin.
Oh,
now they just need to save the team fight. Kramer uses the Pop Blossom, but won't land a stun onto anyone, but he's still putting out a ton of damage from those auto attacks. Look at the damage coming out from Kramer, LGD. Chelly not going to be able to take him down. Ala as well. LGD just get the ace.
Oh my god. That was a 4v5 situation. Such a great start from Xuan. I love the way he positioned throughout that Baron team fight, but Kramer shows up huge with the damage. Where did OMG members go? They just melted.
It's that third hit, man. As soon as you get a third hit into the fight, it's over. And once he's getting those stacks going, that's happening every other hit. So he's just putting out damage after damage. His auto attacks chunked with just the on-hit build, and they're going to be able to push down the inhibitor from this push. They don't need the Baron. They got the gold from acing the entire enemy team, so they're going to be happy with that and taking down the mid lane inhibitor.
No Barons left for OMG. They didn't get the slicing maelstrom in the start of the fight. Let's watch that again. Like I was saying, Xuan did a great job here, gets the double knock-up into the back line. Penguin goes in, but they can't find the rest of the damage. And look at that shield from Kramer, was basically untouched for the rest of that fight. And the really fragile composition from OMG, like we were talking about, triple AD carries essentially, really coming back to bite them in that team fight.
Crumbled like paper under the pressure of Kramer's damage, and now he has also picked up the Infinity Edge, 6-0-7 on this 80 carry Neeko with 4 dragons to their name, a 3k gold lead. This is one scary LGD team, and especially now that Lies has picked up the Rabadon's death cap, he's going to have some damage threat onto Ala as well.
Yeah, OMG's windows are really shutting down around them. Their only win condition, still I have to say it, should be the 1-3-1, but I think they can move Kramer into one of these side lanes. Kramer is strong enough to fight one of these solo lanes. He would win against the Kennen, I think, quite easily. And I don't think even the Corki would be able to burst her down.
I mean, we've seen that before, Clement. It did not go well for the Corki, and he has not significantly itemized further. He's finally finished the Infinity Edge, yes, but the Hex Drinker has slowed down his build a little bit, so he doesn't have a ton of damage besides that. Against the 4 items of Kramer, there's not much you can do. So LGD looking to push down the top lane tower, mostly uncontested.
OMG also don't have the best dive in or the best reach to really shut down Kramer. Their only diver pretty much is Penguin, and he's not going to be dealing a lot of damage at this time. I really fail to see how they're going to shut Kramer down.
Well, they're going to have to find out really quick because LGD are just ramming down this top lane tower. The inhibitor is going to be the next target, and it looks like OMG just giving it away for free at this point. Ala maybe looking for the engage, doesn't have the flash, no longer has the lightning surge, so LGD back out with a free inhibitor under their belt. Bot lane, the only lane remaining.
OMG can't really even find the poke damage onto LGD. That Ocean Drake is working wonders for them. All they need to do is back off. Just with the damage and the teamfight potential, they're able to siege and push down OMG. I don't really know what OMG can do at this point. I feel like they need to be really risky with their solo laners, try to buy the composition a little bit more time for Corki to scale up. They need more items.
It's a 6-item Neeko, though. What exactly can you do against a 6-item on-hit Neeko? The answer might just be consider the next game.
You can try and stun her out. I think that's the only realistic answer. Alistar, Kennen, if you get a good CC chain, maybe that can work, but you really need the burst damage to follow up on that.
Oh, Condi wants to go in and get the kick. Maybe this is how they lose. If Condi mispositions like that, and Kramer, luckily there to follow up, so they will get the pick onto the side. Condi can engage in the worst way possible and still force out flashes from everyone. Kramer gets the kill with the red buff.
I think that was 2 auto attacks.
Yeah, this This is OMG just getting absolutely run over at this point. Ala forced to back. Condi's going to go looking for him on a hunting mission, trying to catch himself an electric rat. Goodbye, Pikachu. Pick him up, and now LGD pushing down the bottom lane, the last vestige of defense for OMG. They have 3 members down for the next 30 seconds, bare minimum. Ala almost 50 seconds remaining on that death timer, so now LGD just going to shove it in. They have all 5 members converging on this bottom side, and it looks like this is the last stand for OMG, but can they do anything about it? It doesn't look like they'll be able to. They're going to try and start a fight. Penguin goes in, but Kramer is there with all the safety in the world. They pop 2 of them. The damage from Lies is even online at this point. The Pop Blossom to keep Xuan away from his own fountain. They will pick him up alongside the Nexus, the triple kill from Lies to top it off.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go to Game 3. LGD not going to stand down as their playoff hopes vanquishes in front of them. They still have that one shot, but if they lose Game 3, they are officially out of the running. Every game counts from now on.
And LGD, once again, it's just the Kramer show. You just need to get him going, and once he is an agent on the field, I mean, look at that. You wait 24 minutes, Kramer gets his second, maybe third item, and it's just an explosion in favor of LGD on the gold chart, and he put out such ridiculous amounts of damage.
The biggest reason that LGD won this game is that they had much better priority in the mid lane. They were able to bring Lissandra down multiple times and get kills off of that Neeko. That was not supposed to be a good lane for Neeko and the Braum against Alistar and Lucian. However, with the early jungle presence, they had a bit of a vertical jungle going on. Early 4v2 dive. Lissandra comes in again, get that Neeko on that 1-0-1 scoreline, and OMG couldn't get a 1-3-1 at all. Like, their most fed member, Icon, goes to a side lane, sees the Neeko, and instantly dies. He doesn't even press the cleanse. He's like, I should be fine. Oh, wait.
I should be fine. Oh, I'm 20 health. Oh, there's an auto following. Oh, no. Oh, no, this is terrible. So, OMG, I don't want to say the difference was that just it was LGD having winninger lanes, so to speak, because their bot lane didn't crumple, their top lane did something with the lead, and honestly, Lies didn't really play much proactively in terms of that lead, but he was able to stem the flow of Ala's split push, and that was really all he needed to do, because like you said, Ian was roaming down to the bot lane, Condi as well was playing a very proactive role. So for OMG, what do they have to look for in order to stop this from happening again? I feel like part of it may have been the triple 80 carry composition, but part of it may just be that their bot lane didn't get ahead.
It was a fairly risky composition to run. There's a lot of resources you need to split between these people, and I think for OMG, the number one thing they're gonna do is they're gonna throw 3 brands at Kramer. I can already see that happening. Kaisa, Vayne, y'all gotta go. Neeko, you know what? You're not staying either. Just get that off the board.
Well, that's going to give PYL his power pick back. He might be able to pick up the Tom Kench in game number 3, and with it, the victory. Or OMG could pull it home in the away arena in Hangzhou. We're going to find out in just a few minutes.
跳上来打一套，但是开大招吧还要哇！赵云感觉这波有点上头啊！开了大招之后反被打回去，
哇！
一个
这波交闪了，
交了一个闪现，后续再一个枪，哇！
这一个 Q 技能就
枪火谈判直接单杀。
因为我问了一些打野选手，是说你抢那个附魔的那个时间很赚，就抢打野刀的那种时间。
凯格的闪2连开得很漂亮，但是魔腾有块秒表出来之后，黄子达消失，魔腾交闪开护盾，回身开启一个大招，亚高的自己的大招结束之后直接被秒掉，魔腾反飞回去，伊普的位置还不错，吸血鬼杀掉刀妹，伊普被1克2连调节之后，被牛头2连击飞之后被老贼给收掉了，这波又是来自蛇的先手。
哎，
这个时候想打牛头配合凯南直接一波双进场，先行塔姆之下还没皇子 EQ 再反盖住3个人 ，Mystic 在旁边敞开输出，先要斩掉凯南，而另一边 Mystic 有点危险，是被剑魔在死前第一条命死前被打掉了。看一下剑魔被2个人堵在角落，还是要被 Mystic 收回一个大杀特杀，而另一边谢也斩掉了牛头，这一波威武的先行动手，但自己付出了3名人员的代价。
这边野辅动起来了。
直接想找玉米的麻烦，一个闪顶，刚好在换了一个闪现，在地上有个僵直，靠反手打一套，但自己的血量也不是很健康，给上点燃，想直接一波傻大招将其灌死一波单吃。
哎呦，这边又是睡到了利桑卓，赶紧帮忙挡一下后续伤害。
飞仙直接大残，卡莎想进场，想先斩谢给自己开了个大招，波比扬起大招看砸飞几个，先砸飞了一个中单 ，Y4 这波输出位置还不错，直接先斩掉飞上第一条美，剑魔第一条美也被打出来，基诺虽然开下大招，但自己还是丧生殒命。Con 赶到战场，一个飞行先斩塔姆，皇子位置这个EQ 要找剑魔，韩冰一波 double kill， 一个 W 往上还要再找玉米，玉米成就了这边 Mystic 波3杀，虽然说 Mystic 自己在3杀之前被睡倒，但是玉米已经跑不掉了。 红尘间给上，海洋再找乐叶，这边 POS 如影随形。乐叶身上虽然说没有这个 Q 中掉，但是还是最后一个持续伤害带他走。